Is the middle of a sentence. There's no gesture to spell it. It just happens. It was the most human thing I'd ever seen a fictionalized president do. Stay with me forever. A little piece of business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's one of the great ones.
He is singularly my favorite actor of my lifetime. The most diverse. There's no performance that's the same.
Have you seen The Door on the Floor?
Of course.
Oh, what a stunning performance.
It's a clinic.
What a stunning performance.
Yeah.
There's a film I recommend. We haven't gotten around to talking about that one yet on the show.
Thunderbolt and Lightfoot.
Well,
No,
that's,
Lightfoot? Is it Lightfoot?
It's
It is
an early
Lightfoot.
one. That's Michael Cimino's
Yes.
film, right? Yeah.
He's extraordinary. Starman. Tour de force.
That's a great performance.
No one had ever seen anything like it.
Nope. And I might say, regarding Jeff Bridges, and this is in no way intended to be a negative statement, no way, that like other great actors in the history of movies, he got his Oscar belatedly.
Not for his best performance.
For the wrong movie.
Yeah, of course. You'd say that about Scorsese.
Right. Is he good in Crazy Heart? Of course he's good. He can never be not good. He's Jeff Bridges.
That's exactly right.
But when you see some of these other performances, you say, wow, that's the one that really blows me away.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite among your films? Not just the successful ones, but do you have one that you...
Deterrence, quite honestly, is one of the all-time favorites.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best work I've ever done. Very subtle and underplayed, which is the only thing I can do. But also to make a president human, even an underqualified one. And The Usual Suspects only because it was something no one had ever seen me done before, so something I'd never attempted to do before. Something I wasn't even certain I could do. Although my friends that I grew up with to this day, the moment when I get up in Stephen Baldwin's face and say, "Do you want to dance?" they find hilarious because I'm attempting to be a badass, and that's just not a part of me.
Hey everybody, I'm Leonard Maltin. This is Maltin on Movies with Baron Vaughn. Only Baron isn't here today. I searched around, who could I bring in? Who could I drag?
Removed from the final cut of a movie where they were sitting around
Cars getting coffee and Jerry Seinfeld. You finally get a feeling of, man, he's not giving speeches, he has... There's a moment, because he makes him real and human. I'd never seen a president depicted as human before. When you see Obama in Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld, you finally get a feeling of, man, he's not giving speeches, he has no platform, he doesn't have anything to sell. He's a person, this is terrific. There's a moment where we find out in the White House is a single-lane bowling alley.
I was just going to ask you about the bowling alley scene. Yeah, that's what stays in my head.
Mine too. Because there's a moment where, as the president, Jeff Bridges is talking to Joan Allen, the vice, who wants to be vice president.
Right.
About something, which I don't remember. But what I do remember is that during that scene, Jeff Bridges playing the president is taking off his bowling shoes and putting on his regular shoes. And when he removes a bowling shoe from one foot, before he puts on his everyday life shoe, he smells it and then puts it on. And it was the most small, tiny, human... It's the middle of a sentence. There's no gesture to smell it. It just happens. It was the most human thing I'd ever seen a fictionalized president do. Stay with me forever. A little piece of business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's one of the great ones.
He is singularly my favorite actor of my lifetime. The most diverse. There's no performance that's the same.
Have you seen The Door on the Floor?
Of course.
Oh, what a stunning performance.
It's a clinic.
What a stunning performance.
Yeah.
There's a film I recommend. We haven't gotten around to talking about that one yet on the show.
Thunderbolt and Lightfoot.
Well,
no, Lightfoot? Is it Lightfoot?
Yeah, it's
it is
an early
Lightfoot.
one. That's Michael Cimino's film, right? Yeah.
He's extraordinary. Starman. Tour de force.
That's a great performance.
No one had ever seen anything like it.
Nope. And I might say, regarding Jeff Bridges, and this is in no way intended to be a negative statement. No way. But like other great actors in the history of movies, he got his Oscar belatedly.
Not for his best performance.
For the wrong movie.
Yeah, of course. You could say that about Scorsese.
Right. Is he good in Crazy Heart? Of course he's good. He can never be not good. He's Jeff Bridges.
That's exactly right.
But when you see some of these other performances, you say, wow, that's the really pleasure. Do you have a favorite among your films? Not just the successful ones, but do you have one that you...
Deterrence, quite honestly, is one of the all-time favorites. Mm-hmm. It's the best work I've ever done. Very subtle and underplayed, which is the only thing I can do. But also to make a president human, even an underqualified one. Mm-hmm. And The Usual Suspects only because it was something no one had ever seen me done before, something I'd never attempted to do before. Something I wasn't even certain I could do. Although my friends that I grew up with to this day, the moment when I get up in Stephen Baldwin's face and say, "Do you want to dance?" they find hilarious because I'm attempting to be a badass, and that's just not a part of me. Mm-hmm. More the lovable sociopath. That's what I like to think. Avalon, which was sort of the first dramatic acting that I'd ever done, which is hardly dramatic, but it's a very dramatic film. And Barry Levinson always puts a comedian in his films. I don't know if you've picked up on this over the years. You got Dennis Leary in Wag the Dog. You've got myself in Avalon.
Hey, West.
You've got Dennis Miller in Undisclosed. What's the Demi Moore? Michael Douglas.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Disclosure?
Right, that one.
Disclosure. Pretty sure. If you go, Jackie Gale and Tin Men, if you go through them, it's so. I find out the reason is that Barry Levinson and Craig T. Nelson were a comedy team in the coffee house of the '60s, and
and also work with Valerie Curtin.
Yeah, sure. And so he loves comedians. So when I was cast in Avalon, I was ill prepared for drama. Barry would come down to the Improv where I performed and see comedians perform to consider people for movies. And I had been called into his office on a few occasions. Robert Wool is in Good Morning Vietnam, in addition to Robin Williams, of course, who's the lead. But I never got the job. So when Avalon came around, I was so nervous about
it's still on sale, so
once I got the part to actually do it, had a screen test, but once I got it, that I gave the script to my manager at the time, who also represented Paul Reiser, whose huge coming out party in the movie, Barry Levinson movie Diner, was career starting as an actor. So my then manager said, Paul worked with this acting coach. I know you're worried about this, Kevin. Paul worked with this acting coach for the movie Aliens. And I'd be happy to set that up for you. Yeah, great, because I was very nervous. I was finally ready for an acting coach once I was hired. And I needed to get a copy of the script to the guy to help me. So I knew to ask permission. I don't know why I knew. No one had said that, but I knew I should ask permission. So I went to Barry and I explained to him what I just explained to you. And he said, no. Oh, no. You're the guy. Just be the guy. I hired you. You were the guy. I don't want someone telling you how to feel in a scene, what to think. No. You're the guy. Just be loose and natural. So I was very, very fortunate. I saw it as a moment in time. With the first serious drama I did, the director hated acting, hated to see acting. There was no rehearsal, and I'm surrounded by dramatic theater actors. Armin Mueller-Stahl was the Olivier of Germany. Both Elizabeth Perkins and Aidan Quinn had come from Chicago theater, as did Joan Plowright. Everyone had come from theater. They all wanted to rehearse, and Barry wouldn't let them. Instead, because it was a big family, would send us out to lunches and dinners during the so-called rehearsal prep time. So we got to know each other, speak to each other like friends. We're on location, we become family. So I was very fortunate that I worked for a director who was not looking for anyone to act.
Wow.
And instantly when that film came out, even though it didn't do great box office, it got a great deal of buzz within the industry and certainly from critics. And people were asking me and my then wife, where did he train in New York? Which was the most ridiculous thing and the greatest compliment possible. But I did take to heart why, which is that Barry Levinson just didn't want to see any acting. Fortunately for me, I couldn't offer any, but I could be comfortable.
Yeah.
I'd faced audiences as a stand-up at that point for 12, 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
As a professional, I'd started much earlier than that,
Yeah.
as a rank amateur, but I was just comfortable, so.
Great. What a pleasure to talk to you, Kevin.
Thank you, and the same thing back to you. The sad part is, I do this with the cat at home. In case anyone's listening wondering, he really does like the sound of his own voice. I can tell you that the cat also likes the sound of my voice. But I do talk to the cat as Christopher Walken. And since you were kind enough not to ask, you may now ask one question of Christopher Walken. Keep in mind, however,
yes,
all of his thoughts are completely disconnected.
Yes.
Okay.
Chris, what do you think of Kevin's cat?
I'll tell you, Leonard, if I may, it's a tuxedo cat. First of all, I don't know how familiar you are with the breed, but they're overdressed for every occasion, which is nice. Also, I like Edie is the cat's name. I like when animals have human names. I feel closer to them. You know, ooh, Edie, what are you doing? I don't care so much if the cat's name is Whiskers. It's not a thing to speak to. So when Kevin talks to his cat, Edie, it's comforting, I find.
There you go.
Beautiful. And what I can't top it. I can't follow it. I can only say thank you again for being here. We look forward to your film this fall,
The Late Bloomer.
The Late Bloomer. Watch for it. And you could also now obtain. You just handed me a DVD of your documentary about comedy called Misery Loves Comedy, with truly an all-star cast.
Name a few.
It's a documentary, but you will meet Amy Schumer, you'll meet Tom Hanks, Larry David, Jim Gaffigan, Maria Bamford, Steve Coogan, Jimmy Fallon, Judd Apatow,
Almost 60.
and many, many others. Yes, indeed. Martin Short, Mark Maron, etc., etc.
Yeah, the thesis was, do you have to be miserable to be funny?
And we'll see if you decide if he proves this case or not.
That's right.
You decide. You be the jury.
Great to see you as always.
Great to see you too. I want to say you can always find me at Leonard Maltin on Twitter and on my website, leonardmaltin.com. I want to tell you folks that this is my last show for Earwolf, not for any negative reason. I have so enjoyed working with everybody here. Sam, our engineer today, and Cody, our other engineer, and all the folks in the front office here who make Earwolf hum. You've been wonderful to me and wonderful to work with, and I will miss each and every one of you. And out there in the listening audience, you'll be able to find me. You can go to iTunes, and in another week or so, maybe 2 at the most, you'll find me again. And I hope you will, because I want to continue to do this and to have such a loyal and responsive audience. So thanks again. See you soon.
On Ron and Beverly, we love to ask our guests difficult questions.
Can I ask you a question about the N-word?
Sure.
Offensive? Were you the cutest...
Hey everybody, I'm Leonard Maltin. This is Maltin on Movies with Baron Vaughn. Only Baron isn't here today. I searched around. Who could I bring in? Who could I drag, cajole into the studio that might have something to say? Who's, not shy about talking about movies.
Who likes movies?
Yeah, maybe more than likes.
Maybe even more.
Maybe
even
loves
more.
movies.
He might love movies.
Wait a minute. Doug loves movies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Doug Benson, that is.
Yeah, and here I am.
And here you are.
We made it happen.
We did. So happy to have you here.
I'm so, I glad I didn't have to ask you to make Baron sit this one out. He's great. That would have been fun to, I'd love to come back and talk to both of you sometime, but I'm glad to be here in his stead.
You can be here plus his stead the next time.
Yeah.
He will be
It's
amplified
80-some
upon
degrees in the
making-
house.
I never feel like
I wish I had the air
was
conditioning on, but
Which one?
in his stead.
I'm not the only person that lives here, so I have no control.
That's not a toughie. That's not a toughie. Well, hey, Doug.
Hello.
You do love movies.
I do.
And one of the things that I admire about you is you have eclectic taste.
I try to, yes.
You keep an open mind. You really do. And there's some people who don't, as you well know.
Sure.
Who prejudge movies or say, oh, I don't like that kind of movie.
Yeah.
But when you told me you had sat through the Button-umathon last year down in Austin, and that you saw a pretty wide variety of films. I remember one of them was the Tyrone Power film, Nightmare Alley.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a late 40s black and white movie, but it's a really creepy and good one. And I said, well, I'm glad you got to see it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Harry Knowles hooks me up because, right here at the New Beverly right now, they have amazing double features.
Sure.
They change them up every couple of days. I mean, not right now because Quinn's showing Hateful Eight all month,
Right.
but normally they really have a lot of stuff that I've never seen and should see, and I just don't get over there. But when you go to Harry Knowles' Button-umathon, it's a thing he throws for himself on his birthday every year at an Alamo Draft House in Austin, Texas. This was the 16th one, I think. He just, as a gift to himself, it's a lot of work on his part. He programs 24 hours of movies, and this year it was on December. It's the first weekend of December, and we watched 11 movies back to back. And the 11th movie must have been around 11 a.m. on, after we started at
When does it
noon the
start?
day before.
It starts at noon.
It started around 11:30 noon the day before. And then the very last movie of 11 films, with a little break in between each one. So it's not, it's doable. It's hard, but it's doable. Some people take little naps during the movies that they're less interested in. But the final movie was The Revenant. After being up for, can you imagine being up for 24 hours and then now The Revenant?
Oh, no.
Now a little fun movie we call, so, but that I think really added to my experience with The Revenant because being exhausted and watching what Leonardo DiCaprio and all the actors in that movie go through.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have been, sure hell to shoot that movie.
I can't imagine.
It's almost like the Golden Globes were handing out awards for an achievement in going out there and doing it.
Endurance, yes.
Yeah,
an endurance
rather than the
award.
actual movie.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of a confusing year. I don't see do you see the Academy giving that movie Best Picture?
No,
Right?
no, I don't.
Especially, it feels like too much right after Birdman. Like, why give it to the same guy again the next year?
I mean, I respect that movie,
Yeah,
and
me
I
too.
certainly respect Inarritu, but the great cinematographer Manuel Lubezki.
The photography's amazing.
Yeah,
They'd only shoot for a couple hours each day because they'd wait for the proper daylight.
Consistent light. They wanted
Yeah.
consistent light. And I admire the performances, absolutely. But I didn't like the movie.
That's one of my favorite staples of your reviews is when you point out your admiration for the effort and for the people involved, and then but it's just not the movie's just not for you.
Didn't do it.
Yeah.
So what else you see at the Button-umathon while you were still awake?
Whoa, that's a good one. It's funny. Another movie I saw during that Harry was able to acquire, even though it hadn't opened yet, was Charlie Kaufman's Anomalisa. And that had played at Fantastic Fest in September. So so it'd been a few months since I'd seen it, but I was kind of like, I was hoping Harry would be showing all movies I'd never seen before, or was dying to see again, or would love to see again on the big screen. Because two of the movies he showed that were, for different reasons, interesting to see on the big screen were Walter Hill's Southern Comfort, which really holds up pretty well. It's a pretty claustrophobic and scary movie. Mm-hmm. And then holding up not so well, the classic Logan's Run. You know, which a guy like Harry Knowles, a film nerd, you know, loves that sort of thing. You know, and it's especially funny to watch that, you know, a few days before you're going to watch Force Awakens, you know, where special effects are just a whole other level. Mm-hmm. But also that Logan's Run is just so silly. It's just such an odd movie. Mm-hmm. It has such a 70s.
It's a very 70s movie.
Very 70s. 70s movies were either gritty or silly, you know? And this one, and also just like, much more strangely, you'd think there'd be more of it now, but for like a movie that at that time was probably PG or whatever, a lot of nudity. Like they get that actress that's in that, Jenny Agutter, they get her naked a lot, never for a good reason. You're like, oh, we're cold, let's take our clothes off. So, but you know, Michael York, of course, is a great actor, and Richard Jordan, not Richard P. Jordan, is like his buddy that becomes the bad guy and chases him. But just the pacing is so slow. But Jerry Goldsmith's music is fun, you know, because it's, you know, it's 70s idea of what we're going to listen to in the future. Right. Of course, that's not where we're at. But
you know what I haven't seen since I was a kid, and it was new. It's not really related to Logan's Run, except it's also sort of mainstream Hollywood sci-fi of that period, is Westworld. I wonder how that holds up.
I don't think it does. But the idea of it, yeah, the idea of it, and just the like Yul Brynner, just that, you know, like they're remaking it now, as a series, I think, like for cable, for HBO or Showtime or something. I think Evan Rachel Wood might be in it. She's great, but anyway, the Yul Brynner just walking around, like he walks. Yeah. He chases everybody by just walking after them in that movie. So there's a lot of long scenes of watching him walk around, but it is pretty cool, and he's really intimidating. Yeah. You know, he does a great job with it, but I don't think the movie would hold up now. And then they made a sequel that nobody liked at the time, even. Future World. Yeah.
Not so hot.
No good.
Not so hot.
With Peter Fonda, I think, maybe.
And then now, of course, they're remaking The Magnificent Seven. Speaking of Yul Brynner roles.
Well, I guess they had, you know, since Ridiculous Six and Hateful Eight are out there, they gotta. Six still has. Seven still has to
I wish they would
9.
stop shaking that tree. I do wish they would stop shaking that tree.
It is unbelievable the amount of just remakes that are made where. I understand that they think it's a property that people already know about, but a lot of times it isn't.
Oh no!
Like a lot of times they'll remake something and it's like, why not just name it something else? Why not just do a similar story?
You can see the pitch meeting where they said, "Hey, let's do a new Man from U.N.C.L.E." right? And then nobody said. Apparently, nobody in that meeting said, "You know, the Man from U.N.C.L.E. is like 45 years ago."
Yeah.
So nobody in our target demo is going to know what the hell it is.
Yeah, and the people that know what it is aren't, you know, Man from U.N.C.L.E. crazy. It's not like a thing it's not a property that we've all been sitting around going, I wish that would come back. Yeah. You know, and they bring it back just assuming that the nostalgia will help carry the day.
Nostalgia for who? Who's nostalgia?
Yeah, and then what's his name? The director who did
Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie. I think he's done some really snappy, fast-paced spy movies, and then this one is kind of dull.
Yeah. Oh boy. But those sometimes I wish I were in a fly on the wall in some of those meetings where they talk themselves into the idea.
Yeah.
They convince themselves that this is a good idea and why. Yeah, why it's a good idea to do this. This will
everybody knows Man from U.N.C.L.E. It's like,
no, they don't.
And then they cast two actors that are, you know, perfectly capable and known, but they're not. Nobody's like, I can't wait for the next Henry Cavill.
Yeah. Well, I know a few women who are.
They like him. I mean, he's likable, but you know, like he doesn't have that cachet that.
Not yet.
He's not going to open a movie.
No,
he's got to still have the big S on his chest.
Yeah, exactly.
And same with Armie Hammer.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And Armie Hammer still has to live down how awful Lone Ranger was.
Well, in my book, he does. Yes. Said the guy wearing a Lone Ranger ring.
Yeah.
Yes,
that movie.
Oh no, let's not even do it.
But that's another great example of the kids have no reason to pine for Lone Ranger, so why bring it back? Why have, like, I think they could have made a movie that could have been really fun and just call it Tonto.
Yeah.
Because they made Johnny Depp and Tonto the lead character anyway.
Yes.
You know, they made the Lone Ranger something of a buffoon even.
Oh yeah.
You know? It's like, oh, I guess that's a fun twist, but then why?
Yeah, the close-up of him being dragged through horse dung.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do with your hero.
Yeah.
That's a good way to sell your hero to the new generation.
Really humiliate him.
Yeah. Jesus. Anyway. Doug, do you know when and why you got turned on to movies?
Mm-hmm. Very little kid. And, you know, two parents that for whatever reason, either as daycare or they love movies too. My parents have just always watched movies with my parents, and so they started taking me stuff. You know, when I was little, I was watching movies as a baby because movie theaters had a room in the back,
a crying room,
and smoking, where people could go and smoke with their babies crying, or they wanted to go have a smoke. My parents were both smokers, so they just hang out in that room with me and smoke and watch movies. And then like
this is San Diego.
And they had like a lot of triple features. So like one of my earliest movie-going experiences that I can actually remember was a triple bill of Dr. No, From Russia with Love, and Goldfinger.
Oh boy!
Which of course makes me hate all the recent James Bond movies because they're not doing it right. You know. I mean, that's the only thing I take out of James Bond is the misogyny. I just have him not hit women and kill women and strangle them. Like all of that can go.
Yeah.
Unless that person's established as an assassin, then he can kill them. You know, if they're in the game too. Yeah. If they're a bad guy, if they're a bad guy gal. But this idea of him like having sex and then pushing a woman down and saying something awful to her, and then the bad guys come in and kill her. That you can't get away with that anymore. But everything else that they've done, everything else they've changed, I just don't get it.
Did your parents have particular tastes or things that they shared with you or turned you on to?
Well, you know, it was the 70s when I was really little, so they were seeing the movies that were popular. The movies with lines around the block were, you know, Godfather, Jaws, Star Wars, French Connection, The Exorcist.
Rocky.
Yeah. And my parents took me to all of that.
Yeah.
And I saw the stuff that was bad at the time too. But just filming, I think 70s is the best.
You know,
decade.
It's the touchstone decade for today's filmmaking.
Yeah, it's what started the modern blockbuster was Spielberg
that too.
His movies.
That too.
Star
for
Wars.
better or worse.
Yeah.
But every smart filmmaker, smart young or youngish filmmaker that I meet or interview, points to the films of the 70s. They'll say, oh, it's Hal Ashby films, or it's, you know, Cuckoo's Nest, or it's, you know, something, or Robert Altman, of course, very influential, Michael Ritchie. They'll point to those films and say, that's my role model. That's what I'd like to achieve. I said, well, you're sized in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know, that's good. It's the best way to go.
All you gotta do is pick up the pace a little bit, because sometimes they drag a little.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but it sometimes they drag in interesting ways because like they take the time. You know, like would a movie today take as long for you know, Marlon Brando to die as he did in, you know, playing with the little boy out in the garden in The Godfather?
I know. Well, pacing,
would they take the time to do that?
Right. Pacing always changes. I mean, I revisited a film I've always loved, Scarecrow, just a couple of years ago with Gene Hackman and Al Pacino, and it's even odder than I remember it. But the things I loved about it, I still love. Those two performances. They're both playing characters unlike anything they've ever played before or since. And have you ever seen it?
And I probably, you know, I saw it at the time, but that's one I should go back and look at.
It's worth a look.
Because it's also kind of, it's not considered a classic by a lot of people.
No, it's kind of just under
underrated.
A little under the wire there.
Yeah.
But liked.
And those guys were college roommates or something, Pacino and Hackman.
No.
In real life?
No, in real life it was Hackman and Dustin Hoffman and Robert Duvall who were all hanging out together, which I find fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
what's the other one? Tommy Lee Jones and Al Gore.
Al Gore, yes. I have a theory about this. In
Yeah.
fact. My wife knows I feel this way. I have a theory that successful people hang out together early on. That there's something about it, it's unsaid, it's unspoken, it's even unidentified at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something going on that if they've got a spark of something, they see it or sense it in someone else, and they room together, they hang out together. And there's so many other examples of this.
They probably also inspire each other without knowing it.
Sure.
You know?
Sure, exactly.
Like making each other better.
Yeah. And help each other along the way. And but I've always found that interesting. I mean, look, you meet people. This is an unkind thing to say about anybody, but we all encounter people that we think, whether rudely or accurately, losers.
Yeah.
Dare I say the word?
Yeah.
You look at this person, you say, this is, okay, guy, good luck to you.
Yeah.
And you just know that this person is not going to find that miracle opportunity waiting for them. And there are other people you meet that you get a different vibe from. And I think those people are attracted to each other in some interesting cosmic way.
Sure.
And it pays off. It pays off in some way or another.
Yeah.
But Tommy Lee Jones and Al Gore, that's fascinating. I once interviewed Tommy. He's a tough character named.
Yeah.
And I passed his test the first time, which is that I didn't flinch. But he can be kind of a games player. I said, do you think your acting is instinctual? And he tightened up. He said, I think anything's instinctual. Human beings don't act instinctually. I said, well, what would you call it? 10 days out of college, you were working in an off-Broadway show and you never acted before. And I saw his body ease up. His body language changed. He said, well, and then he went on to give me a good answer.
Uh-huh.
But he's ready to, he's got his guard up. He's got his guard up.
Yeah, well, he's a guy that every once in a while he'll play like a kind of a sort of lighthearted character, but he's mostly, the way he acts in movies just makes you, like, that's why it was perfect casting and timing for him to be in Men in Black.
Yes.
Because he just had all that authority.
Yep.
With Will Smith's character.
Yep.
Could be silly and he could ground the whole thing. And unfortunately, we had to have two more.
Yeah.
But
though Josh Brolin was pretty funny, channeling Tommy.
Yes, that was a good. Josh Brolin, like, I think when he's on SNL or when he plays a smaller part in a movie, like he's one of those, just another handsome actor guy who also has actually become adept at comedy and being able to be playful.
Yes,
even though he looks like Tommy Lee Jones. I just don't ever see him really being that wacky.
Yeah.
You know, but Josh Brolin's got that side to him.
Yes,
but,
he does.
But he's also, Josh Brolin is very much a go-to. Like with Everest and Sicario, he played, I felt like it was just, oh, here's the Josh Brolin character. The guy that comes in is just really tough and won't give in to anybody. And
he's an MVP kind of guy. He just adds so much to any movie. I'm looking forward to the Coen Brothers new movie, but I don't want to see any more. I don't want to see a trailer. I don't want to read anything about it.
It doesn't have to be anything more. And they even, the Coens, like, it's just very clever the way the trailer is just quick moments that look silly, but they don't add up to anything.
Right.
They don't tell you exactly what's
just
fine with going on.
Fine with me. I want to be surprised. Now, do you watch trailers?
I've gotten less and less. It used to be my favorite part of the movie-going experience, and I'd be like, after one trailer's over, I was hoping to see that green sign again for another one. When they, because it gets ridiculous. Sometimes they show 10, 12 trailers.
Oh yeah.
And when they used to do that, I would be thrilled. But that's because I used to go see everything, and I was waiting to watch some garbage that wasn't going to be as much fun as the trailers. Because even a bad movie trailer is kind of fun. I'll even get goosebumps at the end of a trailer for something that looks like absolute garbage, because they just cut it together in a nice way, and you feel a conclusion even though it's only 2 minutes long. So you get that feeling of like you just watched the whole movie, and you feel like you don't have to see it, which is what I feel. Like Force Awakens, The Revenant are both great examples of movies that if you, like, some people just don't pay attention, but I pay attention is my problem. and so they're movies that like they show stuff that happens
That you shouldn't know.
they show shots that they're not giving away details, but they're showing a shot that's going to be memorable in your head, and you're going to wait for it. You know, like, well, when are Poe and Finn going to run into each other again, like they do in the trailer? Like there's a scene in the trailer where they're like, like they know each other.
Yeah.
You know, when's that going to happen? You know, Poe isn't gone; he's not dead. They got to run into each other. And, you know, there's that stuff throughout that movie. The Revenant's really bad. Like, I don't think The Revenant should be, like, that's also the thing. It starts from the publicity company. They sell movies. They got to say what the twist is in the sale.
Yeah.
They got to say it's this, but now with this. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I wish you could just hold back on the, but now with this. Just say, it's just like, you know, you got a new James Bond movie, you don't have to show anything. It's the new James Bond movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just the new James Bond movie's coming.
They're all so afraid of failing. They feel the only way to succeed is to give it all away.
Just oversell.
Give it all away, and it's all hard sell.
Story.
You know, my other objection is it's all hard sell. There was a time when trailers were clever, and you would see inventive trailers, amusing trailers, different approaches. Now they're all the same.
Yeah.
They're all the same. And do they not realize you're going to be watching 6 or 7 in a row? And they keep them all the same?
Yeah, I saw a batch of them the other day where just each one, the trailer was fueled by a different hit song from whatever, you know, from the 10, 20, 30 years ago. But, you know, a modern hit song was played from beginning to end. And I'm like, the vibe and the fun that song brought to that trailer cannot be sustained in the feature film that they're talking about. You know, they're cheating by using that music that way.
Yeah. I don't know. Very frustrating. I don't know anybody who enjoys that aspect of trailers, and yet that's what they keep doing. They keep doing it because
I think that people that aren't us want to know what they're getting into. They got to pay for a sitter and popcorn and lines.
All
and
true.
parking.
All true.
So people take comfort in knowing, I'm gonna like that because I've seen at least 2/3 of it already briefly, and none of it bothered, none of it upset me. You know, they're like happy with what they think they're gonna get.
Yeah.
And that's just a shame. So like in the last few years, I've been fortunate to get to go to more film festivals, you know, to participate with my podcast and also just to, you know, see movies. And it's just a title, a premise, an actor I like. You know what I mean? Like a movie like Room, I saw it after seeing the trailer and was sad that the trailer shows as much as it does.
Right.
But I still went in fairly cold. But I just imagined that if I was at a film festival, of course I'm going to go see a movie starring Brie Larson, directed by the guy who did you see Frank?
No, I'm remiss.
That's next on your Doug Benson wants you to see it list.
I know, got to put it right at the top.
The tone could not be more different than Room, and more confident, you know, similarly confident, and it just works, but it's an entirely different kind of movie. So this guy, I think his name's Lenny Abramson.
Yeah.
I'm dying to, that guy, whatever he does, I'm in.
Yeah.
I want to see it. And that's how so I would have seen that movie at a film festival just to see, Brie Larson's starring in a movie, I'm going to go. And then I would have been even more blown away than I was anyway.
No. The greatest gift to me in my job as a film critic is getting to go to screenings before the movie's open. Now, sometimes I'm still having to duck the ad campaigns.
Yeah, because you'll see it a week or two before
dodge the magazine stories and whatever else.
Yeah.
And I am the guy you will see sometimes sitting in a movie theater with his hands cupped over his ears and his head bowed down because I don't want to see them give stuff away.
Yeah. Well, since they don't frown they generally don't frown on iPhone use during trailers because everybody thinks that's commercials and the movie hasn't started.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but at least I can look down, or I'll most trailers are 2.5 minutes,
right.
So I'll run to the restroom or get a last minute popcorn or something if it's something like I only saw the Force Awakens trailer like twice, and that was enough to still not ruin the movie. I still love the movie, but it was enough to make me know things.
Yeah, exactly.
Know.
I feel the same. Sometimes those shots are fleeting, but they do leave an impression in your mind.
And especially if you see it repeatedly, which you do, especially with TV commercials if you're watching a lot of TV.
Right.
So they just, hammer those images.
Adrian, yes, it's PlayStation
always
4.
frustrated.
Sorry,
I was always behind everybody else on
just focusing
on the
on
Inception.
trying to get
Because
these turrets in place.
I was frustrated that the visuals are all blown in the trailer. You know what I mean? The last scene in that movie is in the trailer.
Wow.
Just for a few seconds, just to show you that visual of that whole cliff caving in on itself. But, you know, who wants to see the last moments of a movie in the trailer? And in that case, there's a trailer I saw a lot because that trailer made that movie look amazing, which it is visually. But I couldn't get into the story of the movie because I just was waiting for each of those set pieces to come along.
It shows such a lack of confidence in the intelligence of any intelligence of a movie-going audience. It says we have to give you this much to get to come.
Yeah.
I know you were making a big commitment to come. You're getting the babysitter, you're not paying for the popcorn, and the movies aren't cheap anymore. I get all that. It's a commitment, and you want to really sell it. I get that. But you don't have to give it all away to sell it. Aren't you cleverer than that? Aren't you cleverer than that?
That's the thing about advertising agencies. They figure out ways to, get things into your brain and sell things to you. So they should be able to figure out how to get people excited about a movie without showing it to them.
Doug and I will be back in just a minute. We're going to discuss a movie that we both like, that we're sort of proselytizing for. And it's so good, you're going to want to see it right away. I promise you. We'll be back. Today's show is sponsored by Howl FM. Howl is a brand new app and website that Comedy Bang Bang or How Did This Get Made? The Howl original miniseries are unique.
Sorry, Baron Vaughn fans.
On your iPhone, your Android phone, or on the web for only $4.99. Full month for free. A free trial for 30 days. To redeem your promo code, make sure you create your
movie podcast and loving
Captain EO.
Yeah, that's true.
I was at Disneyland for opening day of Captain EO. That counts for that counts for anything, but it doesn't.
It could count. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, it's been great process. Doing a movie podcast and loving movies, and I've probably told you this before on my show. That was my dad's thing. Was always like, Leonard gave it this, Leonard gave it that, and he was always he always disagreed, and it was always sometimes by like half a star, and I'm like, Dad, just relax, he's like, why did he give it that extra half a star? I don't know, he liked it more than you did, I can't. But just the fact that he was so fast, so absorbed in the annual guide, and and always looking up before watching the movie, after watching the movie, and then deciding whether you were right or wrong. Like having that my whole life, and then starting a movie podcast, and then hearing, and then playing the game with your name attached to it, and then actually hearing from you, and having you on that show, and now me on your show. Like it's that kind of stuff. Everybody talks about it on the red carpet of the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
It's all that stuff that, like, when you're a little kid, you'd be like, get out of here. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
And you in turn have given me modern day street cred. You really have. You have given me an audience I didn't have already. And as many people as, like your father, who relied on that annual paperback movie guide for years and years and years and years. Today's generation, they're not doing that, and they're using their devices, and understandably, everybody is.
Are you one of the aggregate critics in Rotten Tomatoes?
I am.
Yeah, that's good that you're in there, but it's still even Rotten Tomatoes probably isn't as used as widely now as your books were back then.
Yeah, there was a time, exactly. And as I keep reminding people, with critics losing their jobs right and left all around me, if you eliminate all the critics, there won't be any more tomatoes.
Yeah.
Every one of those tomatoes is a critic.
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes should be subsidizing film criticism and papers.
Exactly.
Plus, also they're letting in a lot of critics squeak in there that I'm like, really, that person that has they practically just have a blog or something.
Yeah. Well, I can't comment on that, so I won't.
But you're legit, and you're in there. And what percentage do you think of the time you're in line with all the other critics.
I don't know. You know, I haven't really taken a study of that. That's interesting. I should look, because I have contrary opinions about a number of the year-end movies, the ones that are now being nominated for Oscars and winning awards. I haven't fallen in line with everybody. We just discussed The Revenant, which I respect but didn't like. The Big Short, I respect but wasn't crazy about. Maybe it's because I saw that great Charles Ferguson documentary, Inside Job,
Right.
a couple years ago, which explains the whole financial meltdown so well and so
Yeah.
clearly.
I nodded my head like that's clever to get these random celebrities to just
Yeah.
suddenly
Yeah.
speak to camera and tell it. But to me, it took me out of it. Especially, why have a movie where someone like Christian Bale is acting his heart out? Like he is so immersed in his role, and then break the fourth wall a bunch of times.
Yeah.
You know, those two things don't seem to go together to me.
Yeah.
You know, even though it is funny and interesting, and like I said, Christian Bale's amazing.
Steve
and
Carell is really
Steve
good.
Carell's amazing, and then Brad Pitt and Ryan Gosling take kind of like almost thankless parts because they don't really get. Especially Brad Pitt, he doesn't say anything funny. He's not quirky. He's just a guy with a beard going, "Hey, I'll help you out with this," or whatever. But I appreciate. I'm glad that a movie that's that smart and about something that's that important is getting all this attention.
Yeah, true.
But I don't think that the Academy Award should necessarily swing to it. So Spotlight,
That's my favorite.
that's the one
That's my favorite.
that makes perfect sense.
Followed closely by The Martian.
Really?
Love The Martian.
But
Really
but
love it.
you also, though, a lover of The Martian, will admit that it should not have won Best Comedy or Musical.
Well, I like Matt Damon's response when he was in the press room, apparently, at the Globes. Someone said, well, how does it feel to start in the best comedy of the year? So, he said it was a musical. So
Yeah, that's good.
Good for him.
Yeah,
Good
very,
for him.
very good for
Points
him.
to Matt.
Yeah, because they're not calling up Matt and going, which category should we submit under? But between that movie and Joy, I was apoplectic this this last weekend because Joy is comedic at best, and barely that.
What is Joy?
What? Yeah, and
Well,
also
what is that
it?
movie?
What is the point of it?
What is that movie?
Other than it's a bunch of the movie stars and director are all, they could all just get a movie made right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he just like David O. Russell take 2 years to make one movie. See how that works out.
Yeah.
Because he's just churning them out now.
Yeah.
And that Woody Allen, the one thing he's taught us is that churning out one a year is the quality is gonna be uneven.
Yes.
They just nominate like there's that guy Stephen Daldry.
Yeah.
He's made 3 movies. All Best Picture nominees. Each not as good as the prior one. That extremely. I don't even get the title right ever. Extremely close and incredibly.
Yeah, right. And The Hours.
Right, The Hours. But that was better than that, and
Right.
Billy Elliot was better than The
Yeah,
Hours.
yeah.
Like the quality's sliding, but he's just a sign of quality to the
Yeah,
Academy.
yeah.
And they release these things. What really drives me crazy is when they release something, when they get it in way under the wire.
Yeah.
And sometimes it hurts them, I think. Like in some cases, when the nominations don't come through, it's because it came out too late.
Yes.
Like Samuel L. Jackson isn't even holding his breath about whether or not anything happens award-wise with Hateful Eight because it came out so late, and it's basically, it's kind of like the same problem with Spotlight. Like, which actors do you
Yes, true.
nominate? It's something where, that's where it's great that SAG has the Ensemble Award.
Yes.
Because the ensemble is sometimes so powerful and so perfect that, no one can stand out and no one can showboat and get the nomination.
Let's talk about a film that people aren't discussing, that hasn't been in the Oscar mix, that came out in 2015, that's now available, actually available right now for free on Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime.
Oh, that's great.
And it's on Blu-ray and DVD, and it's called Bone Tomahawk. And it stars Kurt Russell, who was also in The Hateful Eight, of course, and Patrick Wilson, wonderful actor, and the great Richard Jenkins, who's been nominated for an Independent Spirit Award as Best Supporting Actor. And the screenplay's been nominated for an Independent Spirit Award, too. The screenplay written by S. Craig Zoller, who also directed it. And this is a film that had a small release last fall, and I heard about it, and I'm a Western fan, so I was intrigued, but somehow I just ran out of time and didn't get to see it.
Yeah, and these VOD things, it's almost like they just throw them out there like, well, it's got Kurt Russell in it, and we'll promote it a little bit.
Yeah.
But they don't go out of their way to really make a big thing out of it. And then, I'm sure a lot of people click on it and pay the money for pay-per-view because it's a new Western with Kurt Russell. How could that go wrong, really? And and so people are probably seeing it, but like you said, people aren't talking about it. But I've just been. It's one of those movies where it could be someone could say it gets too violent for my taste.
Yes, that's true, and it
because gets very violent.
Yes,
but it's just other than the violence, it's just the acting, it's got characters.
Oh, the characters
that
are so
interesting.
Yes, and interesting dialogue.
Yeah.
Remember that, folks? Interesting, colorful dialogue.
Yeah, that was what I was disappointed with about Hateful Eight, especially from a director who's known for his dialogue, is that to me the dialogue, they were just talking in circles about nothing for a lot of that movie. Whereas it's just such weird timing that there's three. They don't make westerns anymore, and there's three huge ones, all out at the same time.
And Iñárritu refuses to accept that his film is a western. So that's what he's saying anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm happy to call. He wants to start a new category. It's a snowy or a frozen.
Yeah.
But Bone Tomahawk is arguably in the mix of those other two movies. Like, even if you love Hateful Eight and The Revenant, or if you do, you'll probably also love Bone Tomahawk, but you may even like it more. It's that good. And Kurt Russell being in two westerns.
Yeah.
A guy that's, like, in my opinion, not working enough, or is just selective, which might be good on his part, because he is, like, he's been in some bad movies, but if Kurt Russell's involved, it's probably not going to be garbage.
No, he's a solid guy. He has been for a long time, and he looks so great in this movie.
Yeah,
his look is fantastic.
And I almost wish that his character in Bone Tomahawk was just the same character. Like, he's so good, I'd like to see him dealing with all those other characters in Hateful Eight.
Yeah. I was, to put it mildly, not a fan of Hateful Eight. I run hot and cold with Tarantino. I think he has done brilliant things. I admire him personally, no end, what he does for movies and for the preservation of movie and the preservation of the cinematic medium, film and all that. But that film is just a big hoo-ha. I never thought I would use the word boring and Quentin Tarantino in the same sentence, but that film is boring.
It was really surprising to me that I saw it in the format where they had an intermission. And when intermission happened, I was like, okay, well, I've seen this in the theater before, where, like, the first act just feels like setup, and the next act is really going to be gangbusters. And it does get better after the break.
Yes.
But it's still odd how little story there is, and how little the individual characters, how little character they have.
Yeah.
They're just generic.
And Bruce Dern is so wasted. I mean, what a thankless.
He just sits around watching what's going on, barely participating.
And Quentin is such a fan of Bruce Dern. You would have thought he would have given him something interesting to do, something to sink his teeth into.
And all the biggest laughs in the movie are either a woman being physically abused or just something insanely violent happening.
Yeah.
Like, that's where the laughter is. Like, and with Sam Jackson and all those other actors, the dialogue between them could have been hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And has been in other Tarantino.
Jackson
movies.
gives it his best shot. I mean, Jackson commits. I mean,
he really does.
He's on top of his game, but he hasn't got a good game to play. So let's talk about Bone Tomahawk. Let's talk positive now.
Okay.
So here's this little film. Yeah, here's this little film. You don't want to give away a whole lot.
Yeah, they can almost pause this.
Yeah.
Watch it. And then come back and listen to us talk about it some more.
It's a Western. It's a very spare Western. It was made on a modest budget, but it doesn't look cheap. If they had another $10 to spend, it wouldn't have to be any different.
Yeah, and the dialogue, the way the characters speak, feels like somebody, like some real research was done, and that, like, it's real, that they're going for an authenticity that, like, clearly Tarantino just doesn't care about, because he just, like, has them drop F-bombs all the time. whereas there's an elegance to the dialogue.
Yes.
And the interaction of the character, you see the characters grow and learn, because it's also these four men sort of go out on a mission together, but they're clearly not like four guys that know each other well.
No, it's four men who there's an abduction. You can say that there's an abduction, and it impels the sheriff of this small town with the ironic name of Bright Hope. There's nothing bright or hopeful about this particular town. But the sheriff, played by Kurt Russell, feels obliged to go on this manhunt. And Patrick Wilson, wonderful actor, plays someone who is personally involved and is impelled, though he has a broken leg, which is going to really hamper him.
Yeah.
Really, boy, you feel that pain. You feel that broken leg, like you're doing it yourself. But he's going to go on this trip because he's got it. Then there's the backup assistant deputy, played by Richard Jenkins, who
pretty unrecognizable Richard Jenkins.
Almost totally unrecognizable. And though he's older, and though he's not spry or agile, he feels it's his duty to go on this manhunt. And then there's a guy in the town, kind of the town dandy. I don't know how else to describe that character.
Well, he's also kind of a sharpshooter.
Yep. Who prides himself on having killed a lot of Indians.
Yeah.
And we don't know why until later on. But those are the four men.
This is a guy from Lost.
Yeah. Those are the
What's his name?
Matthew Fox.
Yeah.
So these four guys set out on this, what turns out to be kind of an odyssey, but it starts out as a manhunt. It remains a manhunt. And, it's just four of them. They have their rifles and such, but they're going after the unknown. They're going into unknown territory. This is not like an Indian raid. It's something much more that we don't want to discuss too much.
This is a movie where just the fact that night falls and that they have to get through the night is just terrifying.
Yes.
But they're also four men all going out and doing this brave thing. So they're also, they don't break down over it, but they're still incredible tension.
Right. They're thrown into close quarters, so to speak, and so they have to contend with one another and each other's peccadillos and faults, and the characterizations are so good and so well drawn, and these actors are in it 100%.
Yeah, and like one character's as chatty as another character isn't, and so that conflict is interesting, and then. That's the thing about this movie. Everything we've said so far is, on the borderline of maybe more than anybody should have to hear before seeing it, But we're not going to say the thing that a one-liner that you'd read on the screen when you're deciding if you want to buy the movie or not would give away.
Yeah.
They just go right to it. Like here's what's going to happen to those guys in that great unknown. Why do we need to know what they're going to encounter? Yeah. It's a Western with Kurt Russell, and it's called Bone Tomahawk. I mean, it's already, it was closing night at the Fantastic Fest, and I ended up not going then, and I wish I had, but I ended up not going for shallow reasons, because Kurt Russell was going to be there, and he got into some sort of mild scrape and hurt his leg, so he had to skip out on coming to the screening. Patrick Wilson was there, and he's great. But I chose to see another movie because I knew that Bone Tomahawk was coming out on VOD the following Friday. Right. So I'll be able to see that soon. So I want to see this other thing. But I wish I had seen it with that crowd, because the Fantastic Fest crowd, it's like the perfect Fantastic Fest movie. Sure. Because they kind of revel in the violence a little bit.
Yeah, because now, I have to say about the violence again. My wife and I watched this together. And there's some sights I've never seen before in a movie, and they're pretty horrifying. Some are shown, some are inferred.
Yeah.
And, then they cut away. But you feel it just the same. You feel the impact of it. It didn't put me off from enjoying the movie. I mean, that's something I would gleefully watch.
It's stakes raising in the story.
Yes.
It's not just for the sensation of doing these violent things.
Right.
It's now we really know what they're up against, and now the rest of this movie is even more terrifying.
Right. If you get the DVD and the Blu-ray rather, there's not only a featurette on the making of the film, but they have the Q&A from Fantastic Fest.
Oh, great.
On the Blu-ray, so that's neat. It's from RLJ Entertainment, if you want to look that up online. But having just suffered through the Hateful Eight, this to me is the antidote.
Well, I'm glad it worked out that way for you, because I, of course, saw them the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time I was like watching Hateful Eight, I was like, well, it's a shame that this isn't. Because the other thing is, Tarantino is clearly trying to do for Kurt Russell what he once did for John Travolta.
Mm-hmm.
He's like taking a guy that's just a great actor who just needs another great part in a great movie.
Right.
And Death Proof as part of Grindhouse is a good movie. I liked it. I like Kurt Russell in it, but it didn't have that impact that Travolta had with Vince Vega. It didn't get nominations. It didn't. It wasn't. And then he's trying again with Hateful Eight. And again, Kurt Russell's probably my favorite aspect of the movie, favorite thing in it. But it's still like, oh shoot, that just falls short of, like it's almost like part of the gag of the movie is almost like that Kurt Russell is sort of not really the star of the movie, that it really is an ensemble thing.
Yeah.
Even though he's the one, from a lot of it that's sort of telling everybody what's going on.
Yeah.
He's setting everything up.
He's a great presence. Great presence in this film.
I just he's one of my favorite actors of all time. He's just, even back in the days of when he was a kid in the Disney movies, which they're they're playing all those on Sunday matinees at the New Beverly.
Oh yeah.
This month. Now you see me. Now now you see him. Now you don't.
The computer
World's Strongest Man. Yeah, the Barefoot Executive. All of those, and Super Dad, and.
All right, I gotta stop, have dinner, and give my mind a break. I don't know how to decorate and where to put the bar. I know the bar is gonna be on this floor that I'm currently on. Just don't know where to go, what furniture and so forth, and what to decorate with, and crap. All right,